Everyone, thanks for coming, for waking up. It's early, 10. Some of you may have gone to the art battle yesterday. Was that pretty fun? Woo! Okay, so I have a morning wake-up routine that I made up, and I thought maybe we could do it together because we all maybe need to wake up a little bit. So I start with the song I like. And then I find images that I like. And then I just play them all at once. And I feel great. You need to feel great. Awesome. That's good. Oh, this guy's having a great time. Look at him. He's getting everything done. And he's dancing. He's keeping on going. Nothing's going to stop him. Cool. Oh, that's Kusama. I love her work. Now you're seeing my influences. This is King's Bro. This is more chill, but the music's crazy. The Oracle License. So you know his work. And now it's high fives. Maybe you high five yourself right now. Or you high five the person next to you. I'll high five myself. More high five. Then we can be friends. Yes, breathing the sun through a high five. Spin and shake, spin comes back in with shake. And then everybody together. Okay, now we're really good. Okay. Hopefully that helped. Got me more awake. So today I'm going to talk about something that I'm really passionate about, and that's interactive and collaborative art. I left out the second half because I'm going to get into the mobile web because that's like what I've been getting more into recently, but I'm going to tell a story that starts off with more public art and then into the internet, making art with that, and then moving into mobile stuff. Because that's the story I went through, and it kind of shows where I'm coming from. So we did daytime, nighttime mode. So my daytime mode is I'm at this company called Embedly, helping companies work with all of these different media like YouTube and Instagram and Vimeo and Vines and put them into apps or their websites. But it puts me at this interesting position with all of these different media types and watching them and watching how people use them and these people that are creating stories out of it. And I mentioned this specifically because like in working with that, I've seen an opportunity that feels like it's been missed with all these different media types and how we're telling stories with it that I think we could start moving into. So I'm here to share some of these ideas with you and maybe get you a little bit more enthusiastic about those opportunities I see. One of the things I've been working on over the last year, I've been throwing these journalism hackathon/conferences. We throw them without any prizes because it's about people meeting each other and building together and building that community of people making stuff with media and storytelling rather than trying to win a prize. So first one was over the summer at the Media Lab at MIT, and the next one was at Condé Nast in New York. And there's going to be more of those. But a lot of what I'm going to share today is from this public art group that I began with a few collaborators. And maybe art isn't the right word. It's more like interactive. We're really interested in making interactive experiences that maybe take into account your body, your digital things, or whatever. But there's two values that we have like kind of in starting off in many of the works that you'll see. And that's one, that the work must be interactive, that it must respond to you in some way. And two, it must be public. It has to be outside somewhere. I don't want it behind closed doors. I don't want you to have to pay for it. I want it to be out there. And that was just something that personally is valuable to me, helped me learn a lot, helped me grow, so I want to make that kind of art. So basic outline, public art, internet art, mobile web art. And I know you're waiting for that last one, but I want to talk about the other two. So interactive art, what does that mean? So the last few days I've seen a lot of really cool things, and then I think about how I look like to the cool things I've seen. Like these images and these videos. I sit there and they look back at me and they're like, man, you're so awestruck. And I'm like, I am. But it doesn't actually say that because it can't see me. It doesn't recognize me. So I think about art maybe that has some sort of sensing that knows I'm there, that knows that I exist. And in making it interactive, if I'm writing these pieces with code, why not open up some of these processes that generate the art to the viewer and see what happens and see what's possible. So this first piece is a sculpture. There's no electronics in it. And you walk up to it, and it's kind of big, and you're wondering what it is. But you can reach up, and you can spin it. And so with this one, it's like you have a hand, and you have an arm, and you have this rhythmic motion. And as you're spinning it, it spins, and then that inner one spins. and maybe something comes to your mind. I don't know. We first set this up for a TED event in Boston, or in Somerville, and the whole idea was like, okay, maybe you can go and sit down and listen to someone talk and get inspired and think cool things. But maybe it's about moving. Maybe it's about standing up. Maybe it's about moving your body. And so we set it up at the doorway. So as people walked in, they could spin it. And I loved it because, she wanted to spin it, but she couldn't reach it. So she was like yelling at her dad, lift me up, I want to spin it. And I was like, cool, we can work together to do this. And that's an aspect I didn't think about originally in making it, like this more social aspect of it. That it doesn't have to be just like one person doing it. It's about watching it. It's about the conversation that builds around it too. So the work is not just this interactive thing. It's also a social thing between people. Here's another piece that was made for a festival. This is in progress, or in the time of this photo. It's a giant beach ball that we covered in fiberglass and magnets. And so this was the process of covering that beach ball. You can kind of see it in the back. It was during a Boston winter, so we had to try a few times to get the fiberglass to set. Anyway, it worked. And then, so we had this giant blue ball, and people came to the festival, and we told them, we've got this giant blue ball. No, blue planet with strange magnetic properties, and we need your help to build civilizations on it. And basically, it was just a bunch of magnets, and we had little metal pieces, and people started to put them together in different ways, kids and adults. And I saw, like, in this piece, I saw something that really stuck with me in future works. It kind of became like a kitchen table that you'd gather around, so people would gather around it, but then also, like, cross that with Legos. So, like, with Legos, you hold them, and then it's the act of building them and holding them, putting them together, and then you could do it with other people. You could do it alone. And so here it was like that with magnets. Like, we're familiar with magnets, we played with them, and now we can play with them together in public, and people would build stuff or destroy things. It's usually not okay to break things, but here there's this world where you can suddenly destroy all these buildings, and it's fine. I like this photo because you see a daughter, her father, and her grandfather all hanging out and smiling. So maybe it worked out and it was a pleasant experience for them, but they could be creative together in a new way that maybe they weren't before. So here it's a new way for them to relate to one another. Also, downtown in Boston are these light blades, and they're really beautiful. You could see some people standing on the sidewalks to give you a sense of scale. They're huge, and they glow these gorgeous colors. And we thought, well, wouldn't it be awesome if you could change the colors of that? If you could make that interactive in some way, and you could change it? Because there's rarely things at that scale in a city that you can have some agency over. So, doodle drawing. We hooked up a Rascal, which one of the people in the group, Brandon Stafford, created this open hardware board to the color box. So when you text a number, the Rascal gets that message and then tells the light blaze to change that color. So here's a quick example of it in operation. So you text red, and then you look up, and oh my God, they all turned red. And we could do Easter eggs. We could say random, and then maybe it would be random. Oh, autocorrect, random. Cool. So this isn't so common that you could do that, but you could go there with your friends and say, hey, I can make all of these blue. And then you'll do it, and they're blue, and everyone's like, oh my God, how did you do that? And you're like, magic. You did that because I let you. No, I mean, the interactivity. So in looking at the data, it's always fun to look at the data. You see common stuff, red, blue, green, and then fish. What? What? Okay, so we put in a lot of different words, and we open source the code. So somebody went in and found fish, and they were like, oh my God, I love those fish. And then we looked at who texted fish, and somebody did it 40 times. Somebody got really pumped about fish. So every time, maybe they were going on their commute. They were like, oh, I'm going to work, fish. Wow, cool. So, like, I noticed people are quirky. And if you give them a space to be quirky, they can have fun. And things can be magical and wonderful in public space. So here's an example, like, okay, something starting from a simple prototype that's very familiar to us, but then just introducing it to a new context. Okay. Like sound and LEDs. This is so, like, we're so familiar with this. You go to a show and there's going to be a bass drum changing the LEDs. Awesome. So here, we're just doing the same thing. And if the sound goes beyond a certain threshold, it changes the color of the LEDs. And instead of like taking it to a club, we were like, all right, let's put it outside during a Boston winter. And the winter's fun. They're not. So we put this up, and maybe the sound to light can be something fun. But what happens is that you can go to it. And they're dancing. Look at those lights. They're so excited. Usually, if you yell like that in public, you'll get funny looks. But this thing there is like, no, keep going. I love hearing your voice, and I'm going to keep glowing bright about it. So this thing, this object that's interactive, suddenly makes you feel more welcome there and lets you be more expressive. So we put it right by the Children's Museum, which is also kind of fun. Kids love it. Often can you just yell like that? You can't. It's not okay. So a little bit in the background of that, it was up for the winter. So we actually used, for each strip, a different Arduino. If something went wrong, it's okay. There's more Arduinos. Or each one has its own Arduino. Put it in this weatherproof box, stuffed it on there, and put it in the giant milk jug. What did I learn from some of these public art pieces? And some of what I learned here translates to the other work I'm going to show you, like the stuff on the internet, stuff on mobile. Interactivity can give people agency, and agency can be a powerful way to get meaning in a piece for an artistic experience. So like you are involved in it, and you could be expressive in it. And then the combination of the two can change the environment in which the piece is. So this, I think, is like a more powerful aspect of it. We have so much public space in a city, and so many common spaces, later on we'll talk about on the internet, and how can we make them feel more welcoming? Like, what happens if it's more welcoming? People feel more comfortable being there. People feel comfortable being themselves. They'll play. They'll talk to each other. They'll be introduced. I just think things are more wonderful if you can create this welcoming atmosphere. So when I'm sketching it out, there's people. It begins with people, and I introduce this thing. And people interact with that thing, but really what's exciting to me is that dotted line in between the people. That's them noticing each other. The last piece I'm going to share, public art piece I'm going to share, is something much more recent. And you might even see it here in Toronto. So possibly in September, I'll install it. Maybe. Sneak preview. So this is a giant face that was made out of plastic cardboard. And it looks kind of scary. And we hung it up on the side of a building. And we thought, okay, like this is cool. But you know what would be cooler? If you could put your face on it. Wow. So like you could see it like up on the top. That's like a little browser window. It was just a webcam to a little filter and then on that face. And we brought it there for a light festival. And people gathered around and they could project their face on the big face. How are we doing on time? Okay. Okay, so like people started making goofy faces. And it's fun to see, okay, it's not just about who's in the hot seat, who's showing their face. There's people who are lined up, people are hanging out, and they have fun seeing how all these different people sit down in front of it. Because some of their personality shines when you sit down. Some people are shy. Some people get really into it, immediately start making crazy faces, sticking their tongues out. Some people become like, they see their face big, and they're like, all right, I'm going to be a god. Benevolent God. I'm going to smile down on everyone. Other people are like, no, I'm going to be a demon. I'm going to be terrifying. Some people have normal faces and then break into something goofier. But when I think about it, and typically what we see in public or in public art, maybe it's like a bronze statue of some narrative that exists already in that space. And when you put someone's face big like this, it's like capturing their identity, putting it up there, and expressing whatever their story is in a really simple way. And there's no, we thought about doing like facial detection or projection mapping, but it was like, no. Instead of that, let's just make this area where you can sit. We made it look like a little living room. You can come hang out, sit down, and then, do your thing. Visibility and voice. So all these people that might not be represented in public space, all of a sudden, their face is huge in it. Just like earlier, interactive art sees you, it acknowledges your existence. This thing does. It takes your face. Of course you exist, it's taking your face. But then when it makes it big, everybody around sees you. Everybody else acknowledges your existence. And I think that's a powerful moment. People love that. People want to capture it. They take their photos, take photos of their friends or family. And my favorite, one of my favorite parts about this was a family comes. I don't know why. It's always the families that get me. I think because it's really sweet and beautiful. But the grandfather, he's in like a wheelchair and can't really speak, but they push him in front of the camera and then project his face. And the grandkids are like so thrilled about it. And they're so excited. And then they go in front of it and they're like, Grandpa, look, it's us. And, he sees him too. And I think that's really sweet. So, more internet. Okay, so a lot of this stuff was like more sculptural. Now we're going to go into internet, browsers. And I'm going to start with some weird projects. That's where these things always begin. And then I'll bring it back to the public collaborative stuff. So I got really into making these minimal GIFs. Like I was riding the train home, and I thought I want to write a poem about my experience riding the train home. So I made this, and I put it on Tumblr, and then people liked it. And then that does something to you. You're like, I need to make more. I'm going to make more GIFs. So I made more. Really simple lines moving around, and people liked it, so I had to do more. And then there's this one. This is more colorful. This is more like, I like to wear colors, so this is like more real to me. Or like ones that are kind of woozy. Just really, really simple cyclic stuff. But I could only make so many. After a while, I couldn't just go. I admire people's dedication to do this all the time, but I decided to write a robot to do it for me. So I really like, earlier I showed James Turrell's work, and you thought that was just this ecstatic moment where I randomly showed you his work. No, he's one of my influences. I really love his work. And so this piece is exploring these diffusion patterns of colors. So the diffusion width changes and the colors change. And it just creates, I just made like a website that every time I refresh, it creates a different pattern like this. And then they slowly move. And everything on the internet can be fast and, distracting or whatever. But this thing just slowly moves. That's it. I was like, whatever. I like it. I like it every 3 hours. And then I wake up one morning, and then I have this. Cool. And then I can just scroll through them and pick my favorite color combinations. But one morning I get up and it's like people, I don't know, Tumblr featured it or something. And I was like, well, okay, this is great. It's doing better than me on Tumblr. What does this mean about my social media stuff? Maybe I have to become more simple and robot-like. But no, it wasn't that. It was like all these notes, you get really excited about these numbers going on. But behind the numbers, it could be like superficial likes, or there's somebody behind it. And I saw this comment, and it felt good, because I made this alone in my room. Somebody just says, this blog is called All Horizons, and basically, if you're like me and often feel overstimulated by visual stimuli, I recommend this blog. It's all rippling gradients like this one in different hues. Some of them are way too intense for me, and different gradient frequencies. Cool, that basically describes it better than I could. Basically, it's just really nice. Wow, that's so kind of you to say. And I'm never going to meet you, and you're never going to meet me. I haven't met you, you haven't met me. But we're having a great moment here. I made something that made your day a little bit brighter. So I'm kind of happy right now. I like that feeling. So I thought, why not play around with this a little bit more? I really like sunsets. I just think they're the most relaxing, beautiful thing ever. You could be in any mood and you see a sunset and it's like, well, I feel good about things now. So I took that and I pixel sorted it. So it's just basically based on brightness, kind of creates this abstract texture. And I did it for a few ones. And so basically what I'm doing is I created a little robot to go on Tumblr, find sunset images, pixel sort them, and then post them to Tumblr. Yes. And I just kind of scroll through it and get, see these different things. But what I noticed is, okay, sometimes people would take a sunset selfie, and it looked kind of terrifying, and I thought that was that creepiness was cool. So I did another one, just pixel sorting selfies, random selfies on Instagram. But nobody I looked at who actually liked it or reblogged it, and it was all a bunch of bots. And I was like, okay, well, that's okay. Bots need art too. That's fine. You know, like, there's enough spam on the internet. Maybe I could start making things for the spam as well. But I actually like people. So, okay, how do I bring this back to people? Well, maybe I could take a photo and then, like, pixel sort it. Cool. All right. I mean, it's just, like, one or the other. And then I made this little web app, put it online, and just, like, you know, tweeted out a link. And then, you know, it was on different blogs and stuff. And then it was cool because just like before with the public art, like, I could see people playing with my work, but on the internet, I couldn't. It was like a number. It was like Google Analytics hit. But now with this thing, it's like, hey, I could see all of you and pixel sort your face. Cool. And here's one I like. It's like you always want to bring your loved ones in your selfies. So it's someone with their cat, and they just wanted to pixel sort them together. That's really sweet. Cool. So in the browser, there's something I'm not really taking that much advantage of right now. But in the browser, like so far, I was doing image manipulation and graphic stuff with the gradients. But I could start doing networking things too. I could do sound things. It's like basically this beautiful connected canvas. So if I'm making public art that brings people together and they can like collaborate and participate together on it or see each other in it, maybe I could do this kind of stuff on the internet too. So my first inspiration for this piece that you'll see is a work by Kusama, where you walk into a room and it's all white, and all the furniture is painted white, and you're given stickers. Stickers of different color and size circles, and you can put them anywhere. And I like the trust that the artist gives. Like there's some space as the audience that you can play in there. You can make shapes, whatever, or you can write words out of the circles, whatever you want. But it's within a confined realm. So if I literally take that idea, which I did, and bring it into the browser, what does it look like? Well, all right, well, we're all in the same canvas. So if someone draws a circle, oh, there it is right there. Cool. We're all drawing circles together. And it's fine when you're doing it alone, but when you start seeing other people in it and start seeing their activity, it starts getting more exciting. Like, people will start signaling to each other. They put like a little happy face, or they want to communicate messages. Like there, someone says help, and maybe it's not the best place to call for help, but you could do it if you want to. And when things are in a screen like this, we're in this great era of technology where once it's on a screen like this, it's like responsive, so it can be on the phone, or you can change scales. And so right now it's on a screen like on my laptop. Like my relationship with scale is like really simple. Things smaller than you could eat. So I can eat this laptop, but I can't eat this building. And like this is bigger than me. And so this was projected in Grand Rapids. And rarely, like again, you don't get to change things at this scale in a city, at the scale of a building. But you'd go up to this piece and you'd have your phone, or they'd have iPads, and you just like draw these circles and you make them really, really big. And it's really satisfying. And I wasn't even there. I was in Somerville, but I could be at home and add little circles. So what the internet did to this, what mobile did to this, was a public art piece, like something like maybe yelling at those LEDs. It's only available for people there. If I had the internet to it, someone could like yell at their phone, and then the LEDs glow bright. So in this case, it's like I could draw these things from wherever. So the internet made, like, kind of grew that community, the publicness of the piece. Maybe I was thinking of like, I don't know if anyone if anyone's actually on the website. Oh, let's forget the internet for now. Okay, never mind, no internet for now. Okay, anyway, so I was given a talk about this, and because it's all like the code is all available, somebody like hopped into it and started messing with the code. That was fun. I loved it. They created that like grid of circles up there. That made me so happy. Once it's connected to what, you can connect LEDs to a website too. So I'm just on a website on my iPad changing them, and then you can, if you know, here's like a grid, just drawing on it, and then if I could draw it on a website, then I can, you know, make a housing for it, so I could take it through the airport, and then I can like control it from my phone too. And once one phone's using it, you can get like a few phones, WebSockets, and then a few people are on it. And then now this prototype is actually something like, whoa, okay, so this piece, again, it's acknowledging me, it's acknowledging my friends I'm with, and then something can happen between us because this thing represents us in it, and then we can see each other in it. This is another like really, really simple, basic experiment. It was like using your mouse cursor becomes a circle. You see, I like circles; they're just simple. And then when you move it around the browser, it plays different sounds. But when you share the link with someone, you can hear them, and they can hear you. And that's it. You know, and I imagine when I made it, I was like, oh, everyone will go to the middle and we'll have the coolest drone because I love drones. But that's not what happened. Instead, people like, they were just like going all over the place. Okay, that's okay too. And you see I'm the orange one. But right at the end, we started syncing. And then here, like 4 people are syncing, playing this terrifying rhythm. It's so ominous. But something happens when like pitch is or key is lost, and the sound becomes more of a gesture than anything else. So people start moving around and animating in a way that's very expressive rather than musical. And I noticed like when I'd be on this page like really late, I just have it open up in a browser tab, and then I'd hear like a woo, and that was somebody else in it. And I was like, oh cool, and I'd rush in, and then I'd click around. And then when they start noticing me, when I start noticing them, and we start like maybe following each other, that's an exciting moment because like these are just circles. But when it responds to you like that, you're like, wait a minute, there's a person there. And when it starts following you or playing with you, it's like, whoa, all of a sudden this experience becomes a little bit deepened and more meaningful. And so I was like curious, does anybody else feel this? So like a few weeks later, I'm just looking on Twitter, how are people thinking about this? How are people talking about this? I just harmonized with somebody, but I don't know who. Is that weird? We're used to anonymous experiences on the internet, like being either like really basic, like someone just likes your thing, or maybe a little rude. I don't know. But here, harmonizing is really deep. It's like you're syncing, like literally, like you're playing together. Is that weird? So I could see why the anonymity plus this harmonizing, this powerful experience could feel weird. And then somebody responded, "It's natural and beautiful." I was like, yes, yes. Can we create more moments like this? Can I create more moments like this? I don't know. Maybe I'll show these. Okay, so back to the browser, back to the web. What I like about oh yeah, this is the thing. I don't think anybody else is on it, so I'm gonna leave. Okay, so these are just like simple like synthesizers that you can make now because you have the web audio API available, so I can make a synth. And it's like a swarm, and it's kind of tense, but it's okay because we're at that part of the movie where we need the tenseness to happen. Oh my god, but I love this part the most. Like that. So I could create this and then message it out, and then people can play with it, and then I can get feedback. So I promise not all of them are stressful. Just to balance that out, there's this one. Wasn't gonna work. Oh, let me refresh it. Oh, okay. Never mind. I'll just make it with my mouth. It goes like really heavenly. You get the idea. I called it Taiga. So those were fun experiments, but they weren't really going anywhere, right? I didn't see any opportunity in them until a couple things came out. This came out. Don't play it now. You're going to tune out the rest of the talk if you do. So this was absolutely addicting. I bet, I want to see who played it. If you played it, raise your hand. Yeah, like everyone. You'd be on the subway and everyone's playing it. And you're like, I beat it. And they're like, shut up. But what I loved about this was when it came out, it was like on a GitHub pages. Like, they just threw it up there and then like, everybody was downloading and playing it. Whereas typically, if you wanted a game to get any traction, it would be like on as an app. So that came out, and that was like, and then an app eventually was made. So it played off this model of quick prototype and testing and sharing via a website that works beautifully on mobile, and then make an app. Then this thing came out too, Patatap. It's amazing. It's like, if you haven't played with it, I recommend it. All your keys on your keyboard, you can like play beats from it, and it has visuals. But the more compelling part is that it also works on your phone. You can tap it, and it plays awesome rhythms. Why is this incredible? Because like maybe 3 years ago when I wanted to do synths on the phone, I had a Droid and I had to go native, but still I couldn't get low latency. And that was frustrating. And now I can do it on a website, like a website where I'm like reading the news and all of a sudden it becomes a synthesizer. I didn't think that was possible. Where latency is like enough so that I can start getting really creative and really expressive. That's Patatap. And Patatap showed that that's possible. So that happened in my head. I'm not even going to play that GIF because we all know it, but I will. Yes. Okay. So then I can mess around with, like, I love synthesizers, so I want to play around with arpeggiators. And then, like, make that in a night and share it. And then people are like, hey, this is fun. Cool, Mario. Or use the gesture API. And so, like, turn gestures into sounds. And so like, the whole time, everyone's like this. And I was like, well, I'm going to make the screen so boring that you're not going to look at your phone, and you can't move your thumb around to do anything, so you have to move the whole phone. So it's like more of a body thing now. So that, it's like living almost. And like, this is like so simple, but it really resonated with people. So I posted, and I sound all serious. I'm like, added accelerometer support. If you're on a phone, press the screen and shake your phone. Like, I'm so serious in this. And then my buddy, he's like, this is my collaborator, Dan. He's like, holy crap, I just annoyed the entire room for 10 minutes of bliss. Oh my God, hold it on and run around away from people chasing you. Because they're chasing you, you're running, and this thing is yelling, and it's fantastic. So all of a sudden, like, this thing that I made as like a fun toy is like now it can augment games, or a simple game. And then someone's like, hey man, it works on my laptop. Cool, I didn't expect that. Don't shake your laptop. But then that was like a test to something more thoughtful. So here you can hear like these bell sounds. I restricted the sound space to the Dorian mode because I love the Dorian mode. And then you can draw on this projection thing. So this showed at I.O. last year. And again, like the other pieces, you have some representation in there. Your friend next to you does. You're all these light trails glowing. And it's not so much about looking at your phone and moving around. You have to look up, you know? And you have to look at each other. And so the area that was in front of, that was right there, you know, kind of becomes activated. And the best part is because it's on the browser and because it's on your phone, it's like, you don't download it, just go on your phone. And then people were like, I love this. I just say, you like it? You could take it home. Because it's a website. And they can just open it up on their laptop and open it up on their phone and show their friends. Yes, you can. Flip the model a little bit. So instead of all your phones controlling the central projection, this is a sound artist, Morgan Packard. And so in this case, it flips. So the laptop controls everything, all the phones around it. So you can send messages to all the phones, and sound is coming from all around you, from everyone's phones, rather than from speakers in front of you. You're surrounded by the sound. And then you can include controls, so you can modulate the sounds. But he's sitting there changing the keys. So this changes how you can do performances. When you have mobile availability, all of a sudden now, we're a room of like maybe 100 speakers. And what can we do then? Here is a project that's using the orientation API, again, with drone sounds. And the sounds kind of give you cues to walk around a room. And the idea is that maybe it'll introduce some serendipity. And then, you know, in this case, she's like, okay, am I going the right way? Okay, now I am. And then, just by happens to just lead her into somebody. And then they had the best conversation. But a little bit on how that works. So it's like using orientation to create a drone. And then when it matches, then the two tones match. And then when you jerk the phone, I wanted them to take a step, but he figured out you just need to jerk it so you didn't have to move around, whatever. It does that. But yeah, so you can do it. I could test it out just on my phone, quick prototyping, and then just like message it out. People can play with it. So that was done for an art hackathon. So kind of okay. Now I'm gonna start wrapping things up a little bit. I think a lot about this idea, and I heard it at I.O. last year of like when filming video cameras first came out. Basically, a film was just filming a play, right? And then once people figured out the medium better, they could do cut scenes and close-ups and all that stuff. Cool. And I feel like we're there right now in how we think about browsers, in that a lot of what you'll see is like text and images, right, or videos. All that media is very static. It's from previous eras. But we can start making very dynamic, interactive things. And they don't have to be like intense games. They don't have to be like fully fleshed out games. They could be like really simple interactive things. So because you can build openly in the browser, you can share it, you can see other people's codes, because there's a huge community around it, I think this is a fun area to be in. because everybody's like putting out their tools or their projects, and you can start hacking them together in different ways. So we can create little media things that are more dynamic and interactive, that are more expressive in certain ways. You know, I went through a few of them that are available, but you have gesture, you know, you can move your phone around. You have sound, the web audio API, you can create synthesizers. You have visuals, like through, like, say, P5, if you want to use processing. And then you have animation, and you have touch. So with all these things available, we can create, like, these, it doesn't have to be viral. We can create small, beautiful moments. Like, I think of it the way I thought about the public art. I can create little things that allow people to be expressive. I'm not going to send you, like, maybe I can send you a message with text, or maybe we can both be in that room together making sounds together. It could be a different experience that you don't see as much. And just like, you know, I was pointing out between family and friends or strangers, it gives you new ways to get to know each other and to be introduced to one another, to be playful with each other and create meaning together. And when you can find new ways to do that in different contexts, across public space, across digital or between physical and digital, across the internet, I get most thrilled because that's a wider range of people finding new ways to relate to each other. And for me, the most exciting pursuit is to try to tend that stuff towards finding joy. And in all of these moments that we've seen over the last few days, we see these awe-inspiring videos and images, and you feel it. You feel it in your heart and your body. You get excited. And I want to bring that between people, too. I want to bring that moment collectively. Cool. Thank you. Yeah, so you can find me on the internet, Witchlight. That's what Kawandeep means. And yeah, if you want to talk about some of this stuff, I'm totally down to.
Should we do questions?
You want to do questions? I want to say one thing. Some people might think that this was a talk about mobile web versus native. It's not. Just want to put that out there. It's not. I think they're both awesome. Okay. Right there?
That's a very interesting talk. I just wondered if you've had any chats with composers, or if you are one. I just was really inspired by when you had people with all their phones and the sounds they could all create. It made me think of, I just saw a reference to John Cage in 1951. He had this imaginary landscape experience. Each person had to tune into a particular radio station. And then somehow that became some kind of a performance. So I'm just interested in your thoughts on performance and composition and that soundscape sort of idea of John Cage.
So I love playing with synth music. Actually, before, like years ago, I wanted to have like an installation with speakers all around you. And I did a simple one with like 8 speakers around an auditorium, but I wanted more, and I wanted to put it in a forest. And at that time, like to build all those, like I couldn't buy them, so I was going to build them. But to build all of them, it's like, I don't know how to build them. Now we're at a point where they're there. Like they already exist. And Morgan, who you saw, he's classically trained. So I'm really excited about that possibility of new ways of doing like time-based art and performance art via these kinds of things. There's like other artists, musicians, like noise groups get excited because they're like, oh, cool, the audience can start contributing to this work too. But yeah, like ideas you have, I think it's totally a open field to explore right now because not many people are playing in that. Yeah, throw it on, like, just put it on GitHub, throw it up on GitHub Pages, and then share it. Because, like, when it's on GitHub Pages, it's a public link. And then when you post it out there, people can just click on it, open it up, and start messing around with it. And the code is available for them to start messing with as well. And like as I was mentioning, when somebody likes or reblogs your thing on Tumblr, that's really exciting. When somebody hops into your code, changes it, and sends it back to you, that's, like, thrilling. It's like, if you cared enough to hop into it, change it, make it legible so I could understand it and send it back to me, awesome. Yeah, back there.
So how do you balance that work? I guess I have two things I want to comment on. One is
You can see I love it. I love both of them. I love that they're both possible. And I love that, can we do the audience lights more and those one, or I guess maybe it's okay to have those big ones because I can't see. I love, like, you know, I was thinking back to the Kusoma piece a lot about how you can, like, what does it mean to design for anonymous spaces? Because if you just put a whiteboard up online, people are obscene. So there's like a lot of restrictions placed on it. And I think keeping it anonymous and not being able to record it adds a little bit to it because it makes you kind of cherish it a little bit more. Because if it was recorded and you played it back, it wouldn't be the same as that moment when you were there improvising with them and making up a game in some way. But you're right. Like when I'm in that room and I have to leave, and I've been in there with someone for 20 minutes, there's no way for me to say bye. And so I feel a little bad. Like it's a little sad that you have to go. But that underlines how wonderful that moment was. Right there. Oh, okay. You watch a video and, you know, like you share it on Facebook, but while it's playing, you could do something like almost a Snapchat-like interface where you could record your reaction to the videos and then it plays in the corner. So when you watch a video, it's not just seeing your friends what they type out, it's seeing their faces being like, whoa, and of course you could turn it on and turn it off, but all of a sudden that video becomes more personal to you because your buddies are like in the bottom commenting on it. There's stuff like that to say, like last week, like a few days ago, I was working with someone from National Geographic, and there you have like maybe 60 images of the same mountain with mist on it. But when you tab through them, it's like the mist is slowly moving, and it's beautiful. If you try to convert that to a GIF, the resolution is awful, right? It's 256 colors, doesn't look very good. So we just found another way to create animated images that look like GIFs but are higher resolution. So those are a couple hacks. The first one was at the video hack, and the second one was at more on another event, S&D Makes, that's like on pictures and GIFs.
So for a lot of these interactive applications, what kind of tools do you use, stuff like that?
So for the most part, like the real-time stuff is Node, just because it's easy for me to get started with that. Some people are also using Go for the messaging in that. And then everything else is like browser-based JavaScript, just because I like how fast the iteration loop is. Like I can make a change and then see it and then refresh my phone and it's there. Whereas like when I was native, like it would be, the iteration loop would be a little bit longer. Thank you.